Late in Season 4, Sue Ellen Ewing left her philandering oil tycoon husband J.R. Ewing for a man who truly adores her, rodeo cowboy and oil refinery heir Duffy Farlow. Sue Ellen's sister-in-law by marriage, Pamela, aided Sue Ellen by kidnapping Sue Ellen and J.R.'s son, John Ross III, and taking him to the Southern Cross Ranch to be with his mother. This act had two side effects. Number one, it put Dusty and his father Clayton squarely in the crosshairs of J.R.'s tendency to weaponize business dealings, and two, the loss of having a child on South Fork hit Pamela's psyche far harder than she anticipated, driving her to a mental institution after a suicide attempt. Pamela's husband Bobby, J.R.'s brother, is also wrapped up in a scheme. But in this case, a con man named Jeff Faraday wants to broker a deal where Bobby returns Sue Ellen's sister's baby to his biological father, a man Bobby knows well. Now, J.R. has instigated a scheme to buy up all the available oil in Texas and just sit on it until either the Farlow's refinery goes tits up for lack of business, or they return John Ross to South Fork. But there's a catch. J.R. had to put up Ewing oil as collateral on a loan to get the cash to buy all that oil, and he bought the oil when prices were healthy. If the Farlows don't crack at just the right time, J.R. could be caught with a stockpile of comparatively worthless oil and an existential bank account looming over his head. And that's where we are right now. With all that going on, it's odd, but not unwelcome, that Afton Cooper opens the episode. JR interrupts her rehearsal session and demands to know why Vaughn Leland is giving her a 1-star Yelp review for sex work. Afton says she doesn't want to sleep with Vaughn, who is a sleazy pig. I mean, she already slept with Cliff Barnes and drugged him for evidence, so she thinks she's earned her keep. JR warns that she'll be giving up her music career if she doesn't play balls. At Ewing Oil, Jordan Lee demands to know why Bobby keeps harassing his secretary. Bobby shows him the evidence of the bribe money and the baby, which Jordan hand-waves away.
Bobby, that girl was fooling around with maybe a dozen guys.
Including you?
Jordan admits that he was one of those dirty dozen, but says that he just paid the bribe money to keep the fact away from his wife. Bobby tells him he needs to step up and be a dad, not just a father, or else Bobby will break the scandal wide open himself. At Southern Cross, Dusty spies Sue Ellen talking with one of the other ranch hands, but she's actually more interested in the horse. He asks her why she's not out riding, and apparently since the Southern Cross gives Sue Ellen near Lucy Ewing-like superpowers of clarity beyond anything she has outside the ranch, she tells him she knows it hurts him to see her ride. But her specifically, since they can't be sexually intimate. Dusty pours out his guilty conscience, telling her that when she restricts herself from doing things she enjoys, he feels like his injury is crippling her too. Good high drama stuff here that feels real to life even if the dialogue is melodramatic. The pathos is interrupted when Joe Ballard from Galveston arrives to tell Clayton that none of the oil that they expected is coming in. None of the other refinery owners are reporting problems though, so it only seems to be affecting the Farlows. J.R. Ewing, the cause of that interruption in oil flow, is on the phone with one of his Confederates, Chuck Williamson. Williamson says he's shipping the oil to J.R.'s tank farms and then hiding out in the Virgin Islands, so Clayton Farlow can't find him. J.R. gives us a recap of the deal via expositional soliloquy.
Farlow gets his oil as soon as he sends my son back.
While J.R. is wheeling and dealing, his half-brother Ray Krebbs is making a deal to save the development project that nearly fell through when Punk Anderson was called to South America. Ray and his wife Donna are putting up their own money for the Krebbs Park Villa. I mean, you might want to workshop that name a bit. It sounds like the neighborhood where SpongeBob lives. Rebecca and Cliff visit Pamela, who wishes that Catherine would stick around in Dallas so she could get to know her. And the finger on the monkey's paw curls inward. Pamela says therapy is going well, except when they talk about her childhood because she can't remember anything. She asks Rebecca if she was a happy baby, and sadly Rebecca doesn't say, "Hell if I know, kid, I wasn't dealing with that shit. That's why I gave you a pack of lookies and dumped you off with your alcoholic father and Aunt Maggie." Pam is excited to hear that she was a happy baby who started walking early, but eventually she gets to a question that Rebecca can't answer because she wasn't around. And Cliff's blundering attempt to cheer Pamela up just makes things worse. I mean, Cliff Barnes saying, "Come on, we turned out fine," is probably the biggest indictment of Rebecca Wentworth that you could possibly get. At the Fort Worth Water Gardens, where all Dallas characters must eventually sojourn, Mitch tells Lucy that he's accepting the internship. They still have scheduling issues. Lucy is headed to Houston for a Young Miss Dallas shoot after all, but they seem like they're both headed in a good direction. They're not, but it seems like it for now. At the Southern Cross, Clayton addresses the shipment problem. Someone is buying up his crude and his crude alone, and when he finds out who it is, there will be hell to pay. Clayton gets stonewalled everywhere he calls. It's just dead end after dead end and trying to figure out what is happening to the oil. Sue Ellen, whose clarity powers are still at their maximum, already knows who's behind it, and she hops a flight to confront him about it. JR has not only been stockpiling oil, but zingers as well.
Like a little coffee? Or have you fallen back on your old ways of having a little belt before breakfast?
He all but confirms that he's behind the gray oil caper, but he says that oil will start flowing again once he has his son back. Llewellyn promises that he's in for the fight of his life, and he's gonna lose this time. Lucy tells Ellie about Mitch's internship, and Ellie warns her not to get her hopes up. It is, after all, a radical shift for Mitchinold. At the Southern Cross, Clayton tells the controller to keep everyone on the payroll as long as possible, which won't be long. The other refineries are cutting production, trying to stem the freefall of the price of oil because the market is flooded. At the Senate offices of Bobby Ewing, Senator Dixon scolds him for spending too much time in Dallas and not coming to Austin to vote like he's supposed to. Bobby says he doesn't need a lecture from the old man about not showing up for work. But it actually kind of sounds like maybe he does. Exit Dixon, enter Jordan Lee. Jordan shows Bobby evidence that he can't be the father because the baby has type AB blood, and Jordan has type O blood. Actually, it's type O negative. But if it's not Jordan Lee's baby, then whose baby is it? Llewellyn arrives back at the Southern Cross and tells them that she's leaving to protect them. Dusty won't hear of it though, and Clayton is silently contemplative. Back to Afton for her real show of the evening, which is not one of her best, but then lounge music is not my bag, so what do I know? Afton spots Cliff and for some reason comes up to remind him that he's a loser. Cliff counters that he's no longer a loser because his mommy gifted him a company to run. Afton suddenly realizes there's gold in them their boxer briefs, but Cliff's date chases her off before much can come of it. Yet. Ray and Donna see Bobby off to the doctor, and JR gloats that the price of oil is holding steady and not dropping off a cliff like experts expected. He also starts in on Ray not understanding the oil business and being too poor to be a developer. He goes a little too far, though, accusing Donna of falling for a grifter and letting him sweet-talk her into giving away her ex-husband's dirty money. Donna casually shoves him into the pool and walks off. See, that's what I love about Donna. Unlike basically every other character, she has a high tolerance for JR's bait, and realizes that what every bully needs is an occasional shove in the pool to end the conversation. Where people need to get knocked down. I think they'd shut up more than they do. Even Ellie gets a kick out of that one.
Donna, don't go away mad!
At another clandestine meeting, Senator Bobby meets with Faraday again and says that he wants to see that kid. Faraday refuses, but says that the only other clue he has is that some law firm was also paying Kristen $2,000 a month as her trust fund. Bobby wants to see those checks. At therapy, Dr. Conrad is having difficulty getting Pam to open up, because Pam is still blocking. She shuts down again when she thinks about her mother abandoning her. So Dr. Conrad puts in a call to Bobby and says they need to talk about Pam. Conrad says that she's going into a psychotic depression, and she's not sharing anything helpful. Bobby recounts the Pamela Barnes-McKinney-Wentworth Ewing lore, which helps Conrad a lot. Pamela lost her mother and both of her fathers, so I mean, yeah, that's gonna take a toll. Conrad speculates that Pam believes she can fix her own traumatic childhood by being a good mother to a child, and since she can't have a child, her rage is bottlenecked and turning inward. JR is gleefully doling out all the borrowed money to his accomplices because everything is going according to plan. He tells Sly to get Clayton on the phone, and Clayton agrees to meet with him. Ray and Donna take a tour of the land Shira set aside for the development. Everything seems okay, but architect Neil Hart has some concerns about the soil. He does the very scientific smell test assessment, so I hope he's not the only one that Ray and Donna are relying on. At South Fork, JR finally gets to talk to Jock after a few episodes of just missing him. He promises that everything is going to be fine and that Clayton is set to cave. And when he does, John Ross will be back at South Fork and they'll all be one big happy family again. Man, the meta-narrative around this is just brutal because the audience knows that they'll never be one big happy family again. And JR is in for a heartbreak.
And Daddy, when you get home, John Ross will be here. And we'll just be one big happy family again.
At breakfast the next morning, Bobby says he didn't feel like voting, so he just drove around for a few hours. He's worried Pam isn't going to get better without a baby. Ellie asks the very prudent question of whether Pam in her current state is someone who should be responsible for a baby. JR is having breakfast with Clayton, who wants to know what JR's terms are. JR lays it out. The oil for John Ross. He doesn't care about Sue Ellen. Clayton says that even if he kicked her out, she'd never go back to South Fork. And JR tells him that she's helpless without a man to tell her what to do. I mentioned this way back in season 2, but that's what makes Dallas Sue Ellen's show. Not Pamela's, Bobby's, or even JR's. JR is a villain protagonist, so he doesn't get to change. Bobby is still the same guy in the sequel series that he is in episode 1, just with a lot more gray hair. And any attempt to give Pamela an arc is done in by the writing team having absolutely no idea what to do with her without Bobby around. When they do try to give her agency later on, you can tell that they're not really comfortable with that. So JR is not wrong here. But that's Sue Ellen's arc. She has to learn to be self-sufficient, and when she does, after several false starts, the show is kind of over. It sticks around for some fun zombie seasons, but there's no real narrative trust there. Anyway, Clayton hears out JR's threats and then tells him no deal. He loves and respects Sue Ellen too much to barter for her. Besides, he knows the price of oil is in pre-fall this morning, just like the experts expected. And JR will be forced to sell Ewing oil by the time his daddy gets back from South America. And with that, we're out. This was an escalation you knew was not going to disappoint. Chuck Williamson's sweaty skedaddle out of Dallas before Clayton Farlow found out told you everything you needed to know about how Clayton would react. And the man has all of Jock's strength coupled with Bobby's righteous conviction. That is a formidable JR foe. Hey, the man was in 7 Brides for 7 Brothers and Annie Get Your Gun. You think he's someone to be trifled with, Junior? This was a good setup episode because you know someone is going to have to blink. And you know that it's going to have massive repercussions either way. You just don't know which. Jordan Lee being ruled out as the baby daddy is also an upgrade. He's simultaneously too much of a character and too small potatoes to be interesting as a culprit. Granted, the actual reveal of the baby's paternity isn't all that earth-shattering. In fact, it feels a bit like a cop-out. But let's just enjoy the friends we made along the way. They're also giving themselves a way to back out of Bobby being a senator, since that was just a setup for a storyline in season 4. And now that the storyline is over, keeping Bobby as a state senator is a bit of a hindrance. Another thing I'm thankful for is everyone finally dealing with the fallout from Rebecca Wentworth's actions. I mean, I'm not saying I blame her given the environment she was running from, but that doesn't mean those actions don't have consequences. Severe consequences in Pamela's case. Cliff already dealt with that in season 4, but we're seeing the strain of Pamela always having to be the adult in the room while Digger was in a stupor and Cliff was off plotting the Crusades. And a lot of that can be traced back to Rebecca's decision to dip out and leave the kids behind. We're in the middle of an arc here, but resolving these issues is not going to be easy.